Ah. I jumped. Yeah, but did you guys see that? I knocked him in. I knocked him in as I was jumping out of the lava. You can't write that. You can't write that kind of stuff. Hey guys, Zach Morris here, and welcome back to Super Mario 3D All-Stars. We completed a star that we completed last time, but had to scrap. On to the new shit. Alright, so we're going to be actually doing a new power star today. And apparently we can't move on until we actually collect it, so... Yay! Let's go boil the big bully. Jump? I forget where we're supposed to... Actually, I think I remember where we're supposed to go. Come here, bully. Okay. It's very finicky, but... Ha! Ah. I jumped. Yeah, but did you guys see that? I knocked him in. I knocked him in as I was jumping out of the lava. You can't write that. You can't write that kind of stuff. Okay. Come on, Mario. There we go. Stand in the middle. I believe it's right next to where we were. I believe it's right next to where we were, if I had to guess. Actually, I'm pretty sure, because there's only one big bully on the map. So I'm pretty sure it's where we're supposed to go. Pretty sure I know what we're doing. No. Well, never mind. You know I'm having fun when I'm giggling and laughing. I mean, it's mostly stupid mistakes, but you get my point. Also, initially, when you enter this level for the first time, I think it plays a message. It plays a message for you about what kind of level this is. Okay. Yeah, I believe I know what I'm doing. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing. It's just a matter of, not sucking. Just okay, don't fall in. Don't fall in. Don't fall in, Mario. The controls in this game are kind of awkward. I mean, it plays like a dream. It still plays very well. It's just sometimes the game just shows how old it is. Occasionally. Not like it's a bad game or anything. It's actually pretty enjoyable as a game. It's still very much fun and enjoyable experience, and I do recommend getting the game if you've never played it. Specifically the DS remake, since they do kind of fix a lot of things that the normal version of this does not have. Yeah, also, I should mention, for the longest time, people considered the, remake was to actually be trash because it played like absolute horseshit. If you guys don't know, this game was originally, if you can't tell by the title, the game was released for the Nintendo 64. Uh-oh. No. Okay, but I have a few minutes. But if you guys don't know this, if you can't tell by the title, this game was initially released for the Nintendo 64, which meant it had 360 control movement. And then it was released for the DS, which only had a D-pad. And what that effectively meant is that you could only move in 4 directions. Yeah, and I died. But in case, what that effectively meant was that you could only move in 4 directions, whereas the Nintendo 64, on the Nintendo 64, you could move in any direction you wanted. So you had to kind of finagle it a lot to be able to actually control the DS version, because you couldn't move as precisely as you wanted on the DS version. So for that reason, people thought the game was trash, because the control screen was what is the word I'm looking for? The control scheme was completely terrible. It did not work right. It's because the Super Mario 64 was designed with 360 controls in mind, and let's just say the DS did not support 3D controls for the longest time. Now he's back up here. But yeah, it wasn't until the 3DS came along that they actually addressed the whole you can't move in whatever direction you want issue. So because the 3DS has a D-pad, and now this game has been re-released as well to a system that already had 360 controls and control of movement. So yeah, it was mainly the DS version that was kind of the black sheep of the remasters for this game. It just did not work right for a number of reasons. Mainly because the control scheme was just... for whatever reason, they didn't have the foresight to realize, oh, this isn't going to work with the control scheme we already have for the DS. And then the end result was that the game just kind of didn't play right, and people just kind of hated it because it was a lot more frustrating to play. And that's a bit of a problem. Okay. Yeah, it was a lot more frustrating to play as a game. Not that this game isn't equally frustrating, but... yeah, this isn't the first time they've actually done something stupid with the DS. The 3DS, and a lot more recently. More recently, they decided to remaster the Mario and Luigi games, or at least the first and third one. The main reason being that the first and third one have kind of aged pretty poorly, and they decided to Alpha Dream, the people who made the entire series and were responsible for it up until their bankruptcy. They made the game. They designed the game. They decided they were going to remake it, but Nintendo, and then they made remade Superstar Saga, which I recommend playing if you've never played Superstar Saga. Actually, I've never played Superstar Saga, so I may or may not watch a playthrough of that at some point. I know a buddy of mine has played. New buddy, Amateur Hour 64. He actually is playing through it on his channel, and I might go and give it a watch over there. But then they decided to remake Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, which was well, for lack of a better word, it was a remake on a system that could already play the original just fine. So nobody bought the new remake. And also on top of that, the remake did a bunch of things that the original game did better in a lot of fans' opinions. And the end result was that Alpha Dream kind of went bankrupt because their new game did not do very well, and they kind of went under. It was I'm dying if you can't tell. But it's just a unique case of Nintendo is good at making games, they're not so much very good at making business decisions. Dave. I haven't talked about this yet. I haven't talked about this on the channel at all, or done any sort of video on this. But Nintendo shut down a Melee tournament for Super Smash Bros. Melee because they weren't a big fan of the whole basically Nintendo has a very 50-50 view of fans and fan works. Their entire policy boils down to if it revolves around their self-interests, they will, if it conflicts with something that they're going to make at a later point, they'll shut it down. Otherwise, they'll leave it be. And if you guys remember, that this is actually a perfect example. If you guys remember Pokemon Uranium, the game, a fan game I played for a bit and may or may not pick up at some point again. I'm not entirely sure. I know I think the reason I stopped playing it was because the developers just kind of... I looked it up, and apparently apparently all the bugs that I pointed out are never going to get fixed because the developers decided that they're never going to work on this game anymore. They decided to just break away from that. But in any case, that's just a little segue about Pokemon Uranium. I may or may not pick it up again. I don't know. But but the thing about Pokemon Uranium is that it's a fan. You can probably tell this, but it's a fan game of the main series Pokemon games. It's designed to be a more traditional 2D Pokemon game with a darker story and that kind of thing, and that's the kind of game it's going for. And that's something that Game Freak unfortunately is kind of struggles with, because the whole thing about Pokemon is that it's supposed to be as consumable as humanly possible. It's designed to be like, it's designed to be the video game equivalent of popcorn, basically. You just eat it, you just consume it, and it's that kind of thing. It's designed to be generic and bland from a storytelling perspective, and then they elevate on that by using the games by using well-written characters and cute Pokemon designs to actually push the game into the zeitgeist. But Nintendo so Pokemon Uranium, they kind of took an idea that they thought would be a good idea for a game. It spent 9 years in development, and then like not 24 hours after the game was released, Nintendo shut it down because it infringed on their copyright. So the only way you can get Pokemon Uranium is by trying to figure out through an alternative site, or getting somebody to send a copy to you. Which is how I got mine. Somebody sent a copy to me. I'm not entirely sure who, but one of my subscribers at some point, I talked about how I wanted to play Pokemon Uranium in a video, and they sent it to me. So, thank you for that, whoever you are. But yeah, Nintendo just shuts down a lot of things that aren't in their self-interest, and also they shut down a Melee tournament as well because apparently the guys behind the tournament hacked the game so that they could play it with online multiplayer, which is not a native function of Super Smash Bros. Melee. They were also playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is fine, but also Nintendo doesn't like it when people play games that they're not supposed to be playing. They don't like it when people other than them host tournaments, which they don't do regardless, because well, here's the thing about Nintendo is that they hosted a tournament for Super Smash Bros. Exactly once. And the person who won got cussed out and canceled on Twitter, so they decided to stop with that. They decided, well, if the fans are going to be this bunch of ungrateful assholes, we're never giving them a tournament ever again. So yeah, the competitive scene kind of died for Smash Brothers because of that incident. So naturally this group decided to take it upon themselves to make their own tournament, and Nintendo rightfully called them out on it because they're not supposed to be doing that. Only Nintendo's allowed to host a tournament, and well, Nintendo kind of found out it was an illegal tournament, and they shut it down, for lack of a better word. They sent a cease and desist to the guys in the mail. They decided to call it off, and people rightfully called Nintendo out for it. Because they shut down a fan tournament, even though Nintendo was well within their rights for the most part. And then Nintendo did a whole bunch of other things after that where they weren't supposed to, where they kind of shut down a whole bunch of tournaments. They not only did they shut down a whole bunch of tournaments, but in Splatoon, people also tried to rally that in a Splatoon tournament, like in a Splatoon matchmaking thing, and they shut that down as well. Which is expected. Nintendo does not play around when it comes to their copyright. And I'm dying, and I'm game over. But Nintendo does not play. The long story short is that Nintendo does not play around when it comes to their copyright. If you make a fan game, unless they'll probably leave it alone unless it conflicts with a future project. They've done that a lot. They actually Super Mario Bros. 35. They actually shut down a fan-made Mario Battle Royale shortly before they decided to make their own and release it, because they decided to put in a real-world alternative to that, and they figured that the fan game was no longer necessary, and yeah, that's a problem. But that isn't to say that Nintendo doesn't squarely take down games just because they have a game of their own that they would like to do. They'll also take down games that could potentially tarnish the brand. For example, somebody made a Princess Peach porn game, and they rightfully shut that down real quick. So, yeah. Nintendo knows what. So yeah, Nintendo doesn't entirely just decide, hey, we're gonna shut your fan game down because we have our own. And sometimes it's like, hey, your fan game is going to tarnish our brand, and we don't very much care for it. We're shutting you down for doing this. So Nintendo isn't always entirely in the wrong when it comes to copyrighting stuff. They're very much open about the fact that they don't like treating their company like their fans like criminals, but they will if they have to. That's the kind of company Nintendo is. And they kind of struggle with the whole legal system thing. They're not very good at it. They don't like taking down fan works, but they will if they have to. Especially if it's within their own self-interest to make a game that is actually a fan game someone else is making. They know if somebody's going to make a game similar to what they're already planning, they will shut it down. That's just the long and short of it. That's how Nintendo's always run their business. It's nothing new, and unfortunately people kind of get sick of it from time to time. There was like an entire movement based around the free Melee thing because they canceled the Melee tournament, which was the only way, and because nobody can actually play Melee in person because of how the tournament is run. They actually can't play in a tournament because of COVID, but yeah, they kind of got very upset with Nintendo over that, and rightfully so, because Nintendo kind of shut down the one thing that would enable them to play Melee. Even though Ultimate is a much better game, technically speaking. Melee is very... Yeah, I'm gonna just say this right now. The Melee fans are kind of nuts. The way they work, the way Melee fans just kind of specifically only play Melee, and that's kind of it. Even though there have been games that have come out much better that are much better experience game-wise at the least, or at least I think so. Ultimate is definitely up there because it's been adding new characters non-stop for however long it's been out. And well, that's just the long and short of it. Melee fans are nuts because the whole thing about the game, because they play Melee because it caters to their very specific needs. And if any game comes along that doesn't represent what they want in a game, they will become very upset with it. They will kind of try and boycott it and come out in the ether and screech at it. But it is a mess. But there we go. That's what we've been trying to do this. Oh, we're fine. Okay. I was like, well, how the hell? Well, I was just in the back of my head was like, well, how the shit am I supposed to get that? And now I know. It's just a step. Oh, but the steps break. Great! Well, now I know that. Alright, but yeah. Melee fans are just kind of nuts because not the whole community isn't like that. The Melee community on average is very insular and don't like other games in the series. They specifically play Melee because I think Melee is the last good Smash Brothers game. And that isn't true, but to each their own. It's just don't interact with Melee fans and tell them that Melee isn't even the best game in the series, or because they will cuss you out on it and they will get very defensive of their favorite game. It is, and Pokemon fans are exactly like that. I've already stated my 2 cents on the Pokemon fandom and how I kind of don't like them very much. They're terrible. Pokemon fans are just the worst. That isn't to say there aren't people who in the Pokemon fandom who are actually quite beautiful people and deserve all the utmost respect. For example, my buddy Jamie Thompson. He's on Twitter. He's upset about the bring back. He's part of the bring back National Dex movement. He's as upset as everybody else. But he goes about discussing his opinion on the matter in a calm and collected manner. He doesn't yell at people. He's a very nice and pleasant dude, and that's why we're friends. He's one of the few people in the whole movement that I actually respect because he's polite, and that's just that may have been what the movement stood for at some point, but that is most certainly what doesn't stand for now. It is the bring back National Dex movement was a mess because it started out as like, oh, there's no you're cutting some Pokemon. We're not very happy about that. Please address this. And then they address it, and it's like, no, that's not good enough. An apology is not gonna work. Put them all in, or we will fight you. It's just Pokemon fans. They're a mess. I don't like Pokemon fans. That is why I bring it up in every video that I can, just to address the fact that I'm not a big fan of how Pokemon fans behave sometimes. They kind of get a little bit nuts when they shouldn't be. But in any case, he's dead. There's the star. All right, but yeah, now we know what we need to do. There we go. Yay! Okay, but in any case, thank you for listening to me rambling about the state of Nintendo's legal decisions and how their fandoms kind of suck because of it. But, in any case, that's 49 Power Stars. We need one more, and it's probably most likely going to be in here. I have no idea what we're actually going for in here, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And then we're one step closer to actually getting to the end of the game. We need a lot more, though, but yeah, we do need a lot more to actually get to this top. We need 31 more, I believe, to get to the end of the game. We need one more to get to the next set of levels. I know that, and then we need one, and then to unlock the final Bowser fight, we need 30 more after that. So, yeah, we still got a long ways to go, but we're close to beating this game, and then we can move on to something else. So, yeah, and this doesn't help the fact that I only do one Power Star in an episode, but hey, what are you gonna do? But in any case, that's gonna do it for today's episode of Super Mario 64 and Super Mario 3D All-Stars. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks, and I'm always saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. And also next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!